You guys asked for it and I'm going to give it to you. So I get asked all the time what other horror stories that I have about bridal makeups. And while we do this, I'm going to do a Zaralarsson makeup inspired look. She is gorgeous, so I thought I'm going to have to hop on the trend and do a makeup look inspired by her. A little backstory, I was 24 when this happened, so it was a really long time ago. And this is what really put me off doing bridal makeups. So this bride booked in to have a makeup trial. There was her, the bride, the bridesmaid, her mother, and then the mother-in-law. So I'd done this bride's makeup quite a few times just in general, and she wanted to book me for bridal makeup. You know when you meet someone and you just know that instantly they're a really nice person, you've got that warm vibe. She was one of those brides. She was just a genuinely lovely person. I'm trying to speed tell you this to make sure to get it all in one video, but I'd spoke to the bride previously before the trial even happened, and she just informed me that her mother-in-law was sort of a tricky person to deal with. She didn't really like the bride that much, but she was assured that the mother-in-law said, no problem, we'll come on your wedding day. I just want to get makeup done and that's it. Remember, this was over 10 years ago, so I don't know exact dates, but I think the trial was booked in 2 months in advance or something like that. Somewhere in between them 2 months, a massive fight must have happened because they fell out. They were not on good terms, but they had fell out and something huge must have happened. I didn't get into it. I didn't really want to know. I'm not bothered about knowing. I'm just there to do makeup, so that was all I was there for. So, as I said, I spoke to this bride quite a few times on regularly, especially with her upcoming trial. She messaged me about a week before and did inform me that her mother-in-law and her had a big fallout, but her mother-in-law was heavily involved financially in this wedding, so she kind of felt obliged to keep her in the wedding and keep her in the bridal party. Now, I didn't get the ins and outs, as I said, but I know that a fight had happened because the mother-in-law wasn't happy that this bride was marrying her son. Her son was her life and she wanted a better bride for their son. I didn't want to get involved because it's not my job to poke and pry at somebody's business. It was only kind of what she told me. What I do know is that the bride had found out and she spoke to her soon-to-be husband and he was very defensive. Oh, that's just my mom. She's just worried. She wants the best for me. She's been like this for all of our children. The mom had 3 daughters and 1 son. So I think she's very protective over the son, and the bride expressed that it made her feel uncomfortable. She didn't really want in the wedding and if they could buy her out. But the husband said, no, it's fine, you won't have any more problems with her, she'll just deal with me from now on. The husband had told the bride that even on the trial there was going to be no drama. He had spoken to his mum was fine about it and reassured the bride that there's no issues and it will go ahead as normal. So all 4 people having a trial that day, the whole bridal party, and I was there for a good few hours making sure that everything's right. You're there for a long time, and let me tell you, it was so awkward, and I mean so awkward that even I felt the tension. So when I got there, the bride and her mother was there, and then her best friend, who was a bridesmaid, turned up about an hour, 2 hours into it. We still weren't even finished, so the best friend just turned up in really good time. The mood at this point was really good. I mean, the bride obviously was stressed, it's her wedding, but they were all in good spirits. But I knew there was an anxious feeling waiting, and I knew that the anxious feeling was gone because the mother-in-law was going to come soon. So I'd spent about an hour and a half on the bride's makeup. She didn't really want much. She just wanted like a natural glow, just something really nice. She didn't wear much makeup, but she knew she wanted to look a bit different from what she'd normally look like. So we spent a good amount of time on her makeup. She was really happy about it, but constantly looking down at her phone, and I knew she was stressed. She kept saying, oh, I'm so sorry, I just need to take this call. I'm so sorry, I just need to text this back, because she's just getting hounded, and I knew who it was coming from. So after the bride was finished, she sat down and she just started crying. And I was like, oh my God, is everything okay? Have I done your makeup wrong? And she was like, no, 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 it's not that. Like, my husband's really angry at me. He said I've done this and I've said this to his mom, and she's not turning up now today and everything. And I was just like, oh my God, what's going on? So her mum got involved, and there was calls back and forth from the husband to be. It was a big mess, and I really felt for the bride. So while I was doing the bride's mum's makeup, she was fabulous. She was such a cute little woman. She was on the phone trying to sort out the issues between her husband and her daughter, who's the bride. She didn't want any drama, and especially on a day like a trial, you're stressed enough. You want to make sure that your makeup's perfect, but it's a wedding. You want it to be fun overall, and you want the memories. And they did have a professional camera there, like a professional person to take photos on the trial as well. So I did make myself look a bit more presentable so I wouldn't be looking awful in these photos. Because at the end of the day, it's memories. You want them memories, and you don't want to sit there and have memories of you crying. Without going into too much detail, because it's not my personal life to say, but I remember looking at the bride, and you can see, when someone gets anxious and they have like red blotches all over their chest, or they get a bit blotchy on their body because they're really anxious or stressed or nervous, that's what she was like. And I was like, is everything okay? Do you want to take a minute? I can just step out for a sec. If you want to deal with some stuff, like, I don't have to be here if you're dealing with these issues. If you want to take half an hour, I'll go and grab a drink, come back. She was like, no, 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 like, absolutely not. I'm not wasting your time. And to be honest, I wish she did waste my time because I'd want it to feel better and feel okay and stuff. And I was like, honestly, take a minute. Let me just sit down. Let's have 10 minutes then. Go and get a drink. Go and like whatever. And she sat down. She just had a moment, but she was sobbing. And she said that the husband was like really going at her on text, saying she's been mean to her mom, and she'd shown us the text. And I obviously I didn't know the full story because like I'm not involved, but what I'd seen on the text, the mother-in-law was just so rude and was trying to ruin, that day. And I feel like it's a special day for someone. If you're that type of person, you're going to ruin a good day for someone, aren't you? And she was texting her saying that she thinks she's allowed to wear what she wants at the wedding. She's allowed to have her makeup the way she wants in a wedding because at the end of the day, they were financially heavily involved in this wedding. They didn't pay more than half, but they put a good bit into the wedding. So I feel like the mother-in-law felt that she had the obligation to just think, I can do what I want. And obviously the bride was like, no, this is not the way it's going to be. Like, I've chosen my mum's makeup, I've chosen my bridesmaid makeup, I'm choosing yours, and it's all natural. Obviously, most weddings they just go natural. So I think the mother-in-law just wanted that right to be like, I'm going to be different and I'm going to make it my day type of thing. And now fast forward to a few hours later, obviously there's more to the story and it is a long story. So I can only fit it into the amount of times I'm doing this video. But I'd done the mum's makeup and I was on to the bridesmaid's makeup. Now by this time, the mother-in-law said she would have been here now. I don't know, say it's 3 o'clock. She said by 3 o'clock I'll be here. But it was like half three, quarters to four at this point, and she'd still not turned up. So I'd heard that the bride was on the phone to her soon to be husband in the kitchen, like, your mum's not here, where is she? And he was on loudspeaker so we could all hear everything. And he was like, I don't know, I haven't got in touch with her. I haven't spoke to her since she put the phone down on me because she's like not happy with you. And the bride was like, well, why don't you just text her or try and get hold of her? I've been trying to ring her and stuff. Like, shall I send the makeup artist home if she's not going to turn up? I don't want to waste the makeup artist's time. And obviously, if she's not going to turn up, then that's fine. I'll just leave it. But if she is turning up, I know she'll cause murder if I have sent the makeup artist home. Now, I can't speak for other makeup artists, but I really did like this client. She'd been a client for years, so I just thought, you know what, don't worry, I'll stick around and wait for a bit longer. Even if I wait up for an hour, we can do touch-ups and make sure everything's right with your makeup. And then if she hasn't turned up, then I'll just leave. I love the energy from the bridesmaid because she was one of them people that is just either you do like it or you don't like it. And she was just like, you know what, if she's finished with my makeup, the makeup artist can go and maybe the mother-in-law will have to deal with it because she should have been here on time. She was just a very upfront person and I think you need that sometimes, and she really stuck up for the bride. So we were waiting around for a little bit and obviously I'd finished all three of their makeups, and at this point I think it was quarter to five, we just thought, right, I'm just going to pack up my kit and let's just leave her. She hadn't heard from the mother-in-law at all. And then conveniently when my stuff was packed up, guess who knocks on the door? The most delightful woman I've ever came across. She stormed in past the bride and was like, I can't believe you've made this day hell. You've ruined my trial. Like, you've made this awful for me. Let's just say this woman had no shame and she was not shy at all. So she storms past the bride into the living room. So the living room dining hall was like attached, if that makes sense. It was like an open plan. So the bride gets a call off her husband and she sat in the living room just waiting for the mother-in-law to get her makeup done. And as I start packing out my kit and getting ready, the mother-in-law's like, oh my God, can't even believe you're not even ready. And I was like, oh, well, you're about an hour late for your appointment. And she was like, yeah, well, shouldn't you be ready for me? Like, at the end of the day, you know I was coming. And I was really respectful. I was like, I know, but you did say you were coming at 3 o'clock and it is now like nearly 5 o'clock. So you are extremely late, but no worries. We can get back to it. It's fine. And after I said that, the mother-in-law just sat there, rolled her eyes and was like, right, let's get to it, just get started, like, you're just ruining me day, how long it's taken. And I just looked at her because I thought, wait, you've been sat down for 3 minutes, what are you talking about? Now, while this was going on, I heard the conversation of the bride and her husband-to-be, and he was just saying, my mum should be there now, and don't ruin this for her, she's really excited, I'm her only son, like, basically, don't ruin this day for her because it's also about the mother-in-law, even though it's clearly not. But that's the kind of conversation he was about. And she was saying to the husband, like, are you joking? It's my day. She's over an hour late, like way over an hour late. She should have been here a long time ago. It's ruining my day. I've cried like 14 times. So at the end of the day, no, like, she just does her makeup and then she'll just go. So they start having like a little bit of an argument on the phone. And obviously, the bride, she wasn't really a confrontational person like I'd known her previously. And she was just a really nice, calm person. So the bridesmaid took the phone. And obviously, as I said, she was someone you need in your corner. She gave this husband a mouthful and he just put the phone down. After that, he just put the phone down, didn't even say nothing, he put the phone down. And then the mother-in-law turned around. So after the mother-in-law turned around, she was staring at the bridesmaid, obviously was assuming that she'd spoke to her son like this. She turned back at me and she was like, get off, girl, I need to go and sort this out. I'm not having no one speaking to my son like that. And I was just like, oh my god, this is so awkward. So I was just stood there, and the bridesmaid and this mother-in-law were literally screaming at each other, and I mean screaming. And I don't even like confrontation, so I was like going red for them. And then the bride started crying again. She's like, I don't want this. I don't want this to ruin my day. I can't believe this. And obviously, her mother got upset. And the bride's mum was a really nice woman. So she walked over to the bridesmaid and the mother in law and was like, listen, that's enough now. Stop it. Like, you're ruining a day. So I went over to the bride and I was like, is there anything we can do? Like, let's go in the kitchen, get you a drink, come away from this. Like, you don't need this on the trial, basically. Like, these times should be your happy times. Obviously, they were still screaming at each other in the living room. When I think back at things like this, I just think, wow, this just wasn't real, because I've had so many stories like this that I just think, I just can't believe this happens. Like, you just think that happens in movies and it's literally real life. So after what felt like an eternity, the mother-in-law finally just shut up and sat down and was like, right, let's get back to makeup. I need to go out after this. So I've got better things to do. So I was like, okay, like, let's start. So I said, you're having this look, aren't you? And, you know, the bride chose this type of look for you. She was like, absolutely not. So as I said, it was a long time ago, but what she said was something along the lines of this. So it was like, back in my day, we never had things like this. We never had makeup artists, people who done hair. So I'm going to take full, like, I'm going to take everything and I'm going to do it the way I want to do it. I'm going to dress like I want to dress and I'm going to wear makeup like I want to wear makeup. And I didn't even want to answer because I was just thinking, oh my God, this is just going to set off another argument. So I was like, okay, what do you have like planned? What is your look and desired look that you're thinking of? And I bet you can guess what her answer was. You know what? I'm just going to tell you. She said, well, this is my dress. It's white with diamonds on, so I'm thinking I'm going to go for this. When I tell you my jaw hit the floor, it did, and my eyes popped out my head. So she showed me the picture of a dress. I'm not even joking, I'm not even exaggerating. It was a diamante wedding dress. So I just stood there like in disbelief, and then the bride was like, what did you say? What are you wearing? She was like, it's nothing to do with you. This is my son's wedding. You don't have to control what I wear. I'm going to wear what I want. Do you want to know the crazy part of this wedding? Was that everyone was dressed in black. The dress code was black, except for the bride. The bride was in white. The mother was in black. The bridesmaids was in black. The mother-in-law was meant to wear a black dress. Everybody else in the dress code was wearing black. And the mother-in-law really wants to wear a white diamante wedding dress. And the bride was just like, no, this can't happen. So she phoned his soon-to-be husband. And he was just like, at the end of the day, you're not really going to see her in the pictures. Like, she's not going to be around much on the day. You're not going to see her. She'll sit at the side and it won't cause a big fuss. So just let her wear what she wants. And the bridesmaid was fuming. She was like, absolutely not. I'm not even wearing white. Her own mum is not even wearing white. So no, she will not be wearing white. And this caused like a lot of issues. So they started all like arguing together. And the mother in law was like, at the end of the day, you can't stop me what I'm wearing. I'm going to wear it, and that's just how it's going to be. I'm going to turn up that way. So if you don't like it, don't get married to my son. I really don't know how people have the audacity to do this, because I just couldn't think of anything worse than trying to outshine someone on their day. And you know, that's not your day. That your day's been and gone. So I was just like, oh my God, I was just trying to do the makeup. I know makeup artists either want to work like eyeshadow before foundation, or some do foundation and eyeshadow, but if it's like a bridal party where they're not really having anything on their eyes, you never really get that much fallout anyway. So I'd done all their foundation first. And then she was like, I want this for my eyes. You know what? I've seen some crazy eyeshadow looks. I really have. And I've turned away a few people and been like, no, it's not gonna look right. So this look was a look that apparently the mother-in-law wears all the time. She'd shown me quite a few pictures of herself, and she really did wear this look a lot of the time. And I don't know whether it's because it was something blue, I don't know, but it was a luminous blue eyeliner, and eyeliner in the waterline, not on top of the eyelid. And you know what? Each their own. I've done some heavy makeups and I've wore some heavy makeups and whatever. But I think when you're at a wedding and you're in the bridal party and you expect to be in the bridal party and the bride says, I want this certain look, then you just kind of have to go with it or you don't be in the bridal party. But she was like, no, I want this. I have this all the time. Don't you dare try and ruin my look like how I wear it all the time. And I was just like, oh my God, I didn't want to get involved. So I said, oh, maybe just speak to the bride about this. And she was like, well, to speak to the bride. At this point, the bride walked in and was like, what's going on? And I was like, oh, maybe you just need to approve a look like this because this is what she's wanting. And the bride was like, no, like, you know, the code for the makeup, the outfits, everything. Like, no, it's just not happening. And she was like, you do know I'm heavily involved in this like wedding. I've invested a lot of my money into this wedding, so realistically there shouldn't be no ifs or buts. I should just be able to get what I want. And I was just like, right, I'm hired by the bride, so I can't do this look on you. She doesn't want it, and this is not down to me and you. It's for you and the bride to sort out. And she said no, she's the one who wanted me, so you're gonna have to either work with the bride and go with what she wants, or maybe just figure out a different look. So the mother-in-law was like, do you know what, whatever, I'll just have what she wants. Whatever, I'm not really bothered, I don't want to be here anymore. So I was like, okay, let's get you done and let's get you out of here. So I finished the makeup. She was like, yeah, fine, whatever. And I just want to go. And I was like, okay. And the bride was like, is there anything you want to add or change? She's like, no, I'm just going. So she went. And obviously, straight away, she must have phoned her son because her son phoned the bride, fuming. Now, I left shortly after, so I didn't end up knowing what happened that day, but it come to the day of the wedding. So I came in, I was doing the bride's makeup. I done her first just because she wants to be done first. Normally they do get done last, but whatever, you know, she wants to get done first, that's fine. And obviously I'm not going to bring up any issues, so I didn't say nothing and the bride didn't say nothing, so I thought, oh, everything's been resolved, it's going to be a great day for both of them. I'd done the mother of the bride, all was good, still going well. I thought, oh my God, this is like a completely different wedding party. It was really fine and everyone was having a good time. And then I done the bridesmaid and she was like, oh my God, it was just hell. So I didn't really say nothing because I wasn't there to talk about anything. I just kind of listened and she was telling me what happened after, and there was murder, and the husband, you know, wasn't happy with the bride and stuff. But apparently she heard that the bride had spoke to the husband and was like, listen, this is really making me anxious. Like, I don't want this to carry on. I don't want problems with anyone, especially your mother. But you know, apparently it was all sorted, and apparently the husband had spoke to his mom and was mentioning that at the end of the day, this is our day, so what the bride says goes, and you have to kind of deal with it, and you can't be making any changes or decisions without our knowledge, type of thing. And I was like, oh my God, this is like a completely different husband from the day of the trial. Like, I knew he was very on his mum's side, but I was like, good, I'm glad, like, it's all sorted, this is what you want, and there's been no animosity, especially on a day like this. All was going well. I was finished with the bridesmaid and I said to the bride, oh, so like, where's your mother-in-law? And she was like, I haven't heard of her, I don't know. I'm going to try and go and get it. So she was looking around all the hotel and the mother-in-law just got out the shower. Wet hair and everything. And she come back and was like, I'm sorry, like, I don't know what to do. She's just got out the shower. I'm going to go and tell her that she can't have her makeup done. So after she got told that she couldn't have makeup done, the mother-in-law stormed in. She's like, well, I guess you're going to have to rush me through the day. Like, I can't believe I can't even get a shower in peace. So I was like, oh my God, let's just get you done and like, let me just get out of here because I was so stressed. The whole time I done her makeup, oh my gosh, I wanted to cry because she just was talking so negatively about the bride and saying how she wasn't a perfect fit for her son and how her son should be treated like a king, and he thinks that, like, the mother-in-law thinks that he should have someone who cooks for him daily, looks after him, you know, wants kids straight away. And I was just thinking, oh my God, these are just big red flags. And I was just like, oh, I can understand what you mean, because I'm not going to talk about anyone and I'm not getting into it. I'm just there to do makeup. So I was just like, oh my God, let's please get this done. Let me get out of here. And I just want to run for the hills. So obviously, because they were running behind on time, the bride had came in then all dressed and was ready to go. And the mother-in-law still had wet hair. It was basically dry by the time like I was finished with the makeup. But she was all dressed ready. The mum was ready. The bridesmaid was ready, and obviously they just had to wait for the mother-in-law. So the mother-in-law walked out the room. I done her makeup, and she did not want any colour in this waterline. And I was thinking, please don't you dare, please don't you dare. Like, I kind of knew what was coming, but I was thinking, oh my God, don't. She was like, no, I don't want any colour. I feel like I look too horrible with the colour in my waterline, so I don't want it. And I was just thinking, I know what's going to happen. So she'd left the room and I was there just touching up everything with the bride, making sure that she looked perfect. This went on for about 40 minutes because we were just perfecting everything and she was getting the pictures and stuff. And I don't want to be sat there packing away while they're getting pictures. I'm just going to do my job and then I'll leave once they're ready and gone. I'm not going to be in the way walking past people getting photos done. So I started then to pack up my kit. And then I just heard the door fling open and a massive, I'm ready. And we all spun our heads round and was just met with an luminous blue eyeliner and a long diamante white wedding gown. I literally was starstruck. I was like, oh my God. And everyone started arguing. The bridesmaid was kicking off. She was like, what are you doing? Like, we've just seen you get your makeup done. It's not like that. Like, you walked out of here with no blue on your eyes and you come in with a diamante wedding dress on. Like, what do you think you're doing? This really makes me feel cringe because it's so awful. She literally, with her hand, like, shooed it away and was like, ugh, like, shoo, like that. And oh my God, the bridesmaid flipped. She hit the roof. They were arguing. She was like, how dare you try and ruin someone's day? The bride was like, you know what? I'm done. I'm done. Wear what you need to do. You won't be getting any photos. Like, that's the end of it. And then the bride said to her, did, your son not tell you he had this conversation with you to not wear this and not have your makeup like this? And she was like, my son never said nothing to me. Like, he said I can wear what I want. And I was just like, oh my gosh. So apparently the son didn't even talk to his mom. He'd lied. Didn't even speak to her to say, like, this is not acceptable. The bride gets what she wants. The son didn't even acknowledge that. Apparently he'd said to his own mother, like, he understands that she never had this in her day and she felt kind of left out the bridal party. I don't know whether she manipulated him or he was just like this, but apparently he was like, fine, you just wear what you want and, do your makeup however you want. I'm going to speak to the bride and you're just gonna do what you want and she's gonna have to deal with it type of thing. And I was just thinking, oh my God, this is like a divorce waiting to happen. The last thing I seen was the mum was trying to comfort the bride and was like, you know what, let's just leave it, let her do what she needs to do, it's not going to ruin your day, we're going to have a good day. And then I left. So fast forward to like 6-7 months later on, maybe, I'd seen this bride and she told me what happened on the wedding day. So they went down, they got married in the church. Everyone was being quite silent when they were getting married, but obviously the mother-in-law was like, woo, like, oh my God, my son's getting married, like just being a bit extra loud. And she was just like, oh my God, like you ruined the day. But she was just trying to block it out. And obviously the bride's mother was like, I'm going to always deal with this, so I'll tell her to be quiet and whatever. Apparently when it was time to get photos, the mother-in-law only wanted photos with her son. She didn't want the bride in the picture. And then when they would have photos all together, it would be everyone else in a black dress or suit, the bride in white, the husband in black, and then his mother standing right next to him in like this white wedding dress as well. She just said it was awful and she had to try and like crop her out a load of photos and she was trying to get photos on the sly with her. But every photo that they could get of them two together, the bride and the husband, the mother-in-law was somewhere in there. Also, there was a bit of like drama. The mother-in-law started crying and was like moaning about how she feels left out and that she can't get pictures with her only son, and this day is about her as well. And obviously the bride was like, you know what, do what you need to do, I'm going to go in and enjoy the party. So they went in and enjoyed the party. And then the mother-in-law came in, they were all dancing. The mother-in-law got really drunk, like really drunk. She said it was like sloppy drunk, and she kept standing on the bride's dress. Now I don't know whether it's just like she got drunk and done it or it was like on purpose. Not only that, she was standing all over the bride's dress and they'd been out in the garden, so she had black muddy footprints of her white dress. And also she stood on her train, ripped her train. Half of it was in her hair and the rest was ripped down the back of her dress. She couldn't believe it. And her mother was just creating a scene, like, can't believe my son's getting married, oh my God, it's my big day and he's like the best. And she'd done a speech to say how she oh my God, she'd done a speech to say how she wishes her relationship was better with the bride. But oh my God, I don't even know whether it's to do with the drink, but he was meant to marry someone else and she wishes he'd married someone that was more involved with their family. Apparently the husband was just sat there letting his mum say all this about the bride, and the bride was just literally in awe, just looking at her like, what is she doing? And she was speaking, saying how she wishes she had a better relationship with her and they didn't think they were going to make it through this like wedding type of thing, and that she wishes her son had a girlfriend or a wife who was more involved with their party and was nicer to his mom. It was an interesting speech that she told me. All I kept saying to her was, "No, you're joking. I know you're lying. There's no way she said that." And she was like, "Honestly, that's all she kept saying." And then she was going around to all like the bride's family members, like, "What do you think about this wedding? And do you think they're gonna last? And my son is the best. Like, my son does everything. And did you know that we financially supported this wedding?" And obviously, the bride family was like, "Yeah, and so did we. Like, we've all contributed. It's not a game of who's paid more." She was like, "Yeah, but we really did give loads of money." And she was like, "No, you give the same amount." It's like, well, it was three ways. Like, you know what I mean? So she just caused a lot of problems, but she ruined her wedding dress basically. She ruined her train. She ruined the whole wedding speech. And then when it was time for like the bride and groom's dance, it was their first dance, the music started apparently and they were dancing. It was like a slow song, and the mum just walked up to the oh my god, walked up to the husband, just peeled the bride off him and started dancing with him. Was like, "This is the last time I'm gonna have like a dance with my baby. Like, I need to be involved in this." And the bride just stepped back, walked out. So her dad apparently got in and started dancing with her, but the son, like the husband, just let his mum do that. I'm still dancing with her. So her dad, the bride, and her dad had a nice dance together, and I could not believe that this was like a real thing. I was just like, "No, there's no way. I know you're lying." She was like, "Honestly, this is the God's honest truth. This is what happened." And she just wasn't allowed a first dance with her husband. So after the mother-in-law got off his son and the dance was over, the bride and the groom had a dance after that, and it was a bit awkward. She said she just felt like he didn't support her. And I thought, if you feel like that on your wedding day, it must be really bad. And she was like, "I knew it was just bad." And then from then on, she said, after like whatever 6 7 months when I seen her, she was like, it just got worse and worse. And she just said it's just become too much for her. And within a year, they had a divorce. So yeah, she told me she was going through a divorce with him, and she's never felt better. She did feel anxious and sad that her wedding was literally lasting 6 or 7 months, but she is going through a divorce, and she couldn't feel happier that she doesn't have to deal with a husband like that and a mother-in-law like that. And I felt so much relief for her, because I thought, you've dealt with so much, and the poor woman had wasted so much money on this wedding day for it to be ruined. But you know what? I guess she got a happy ending. She was away from that situation, and I just couldn't believe it. And that just shows you're not even involved in the wedding. You're just there to do a job, and I was just there to do her makeup. But I literally knew a lot about what was going on and how she felt, and I couldn't be happier that she got a happy ending that she felt better about. But that is why I had to step away from doing weddings, because no matter what, even if you're there just to do a job, you get brought into it, you get spoken to awful, and it's just something you don't need to deal with. So I had to come away from it, and yeah, that's another reason why I stopped doing wedding makeups. I know loads of you love hearing stories like this, and I've got so many more in the bag that I could literally tell you. So if you're wanting more story times of why I stopped doing weddings and some family wedding drama, please let me know and then I will tell you. Also, I hope you really love this Zara Larsson inspired look, because I do.